I can be like really picky about dialogue written for young people. I like read all of the lines out loud. The first time I was like so excited to just like say, I was like performing it by myself in my room. I really fell in love with Elliot. I think Megan writes characters in like a very, you just like see them and feel them, and I really did feel Elliot and was like really honored to be like even considered to play a character that was like so bright.
So tell me about where you came up with this idea originally.
It's not a true story. It's not based on true events. I don't know. My brain is kind of a weird place. I think I was home in Canada, where I'm from, and I just had my daughter, and I was sleeping in my childhood bedroom and just feeling very nostalgic. And the idea initially was what ended up being a scene with Chad in the movie, where he's talking about like there's a last time you go out and play with your friends, and I started thinking about that idea that there was like a last time my whole family like slept under this roof before my sister went off to university and everything changed. And I don't know, it just made me so sad but really nostalgic at the same time. And my first movie I made, called The Fallout, was a much heavier subject matter, and it was a heavy place to be in for 2 years, however long it takes to make a movie. And so I think I just wanted to approach that idea, but have it generally be a little lighter, more lighthearted. So it started there, and then it just kind of, the mushrooms was actually much later in the game.
Perfect. And I'm curious about crafting the character of Elliot. This is, for both of you, because it feels like she's so real. The performance is so natural. And yeah, I mean, I was kind of amazed by how much I just felt like I knew her. So I'm curious about how you started out writing her, and then how you guys kind of worked on that together.
Well, I had met Maisy when she auditioned for The Fallout, and she was so genius, but the role that she tried out for was just not right for her. But I was so obsessed with her. I was like, maybe I should rewrite this other character because Maisy's so good, and like I can't just not let her be in The Fallout. And then we ended up working together. Maisy and her sister Lennon did the end title score soundtrack. So we didn't ever meet in person because it was 2020 and the whole thing was very remote. But she was always in the back of my mind a little bit as I was writing this script, but I didn't really know her that well. And obviously when I met her, I was like, wow, she has such a sparkle and a joie de vivre and is such a star, but it's hard sometimes to translate that actually on camera and into a character that's not who you really are. But then when she read for the character, it was just like, oh, I mean, this is just meant to be. And the more we uncovered the more I got to know you, the more I was like, oh, wow, you and Elliot have a lot in common. But
yeah,
all performance is just Maisy. I take no credit at all.
Yeah, I mean, when I read the script, like, for the first time, I was so obsessed with the dialogue. I feel like can be like really picky about dialogue written for young people. It's like really hard to nail. Like, I would be so terrified writing a script like for young people, because it's just constantly changing, and it's hard to nail. But I was just like, I like read all of the lines out loud. The first time I was like so excited to just like say, I was like performing it by myself in my room. And yeah, I really fell in love with Elliot. I think Megan writes characters in like a very, you just like see them and feel them, and I really did feel Elliot and was like really honored to be like even considered to play a character that was like so bright. I feel like she was written very just bright, and I loved her, and I was like so flattered to be considered to be a character like that.
Can you talk a little bit about the director-actor relationship, and maybe like what you learned over the years as an actor that you brought into your role as a director? Because I'm sure you have so much insight into what to avoid and what works, and yeah.
That definitely feels like my comfort zone as an actor, or as a director, is working with actors, for sure. I think I have a lot of insecurities still about, like, I don't know lenses, and I don't know. I still am like, how do I turn a PDF back into an FDX? Like, I don't know how to do a lot of those things, but that's why you hire really good people in those departments to do those things. But yeah, working with actors is something I really enjoy, and I definitely learned a lot just about what different actors need or don't need, and how to pick up on that pretty quickly, I think. And then also, yeah, I just, I was never in a situation as a young actor, or very rarely was I in situations where people ever asked me what I thought about what I was saying or doing, or really had it was never the atmosphere where it was like, would you actually say that, or would you wear that, when I was actually a teenager. So I try to create a set and an environment that's open and collaborative, because I think that's when you get the best work from everybody. And just to know what you know and know what you don't know, and try to just remain pretty egoless. But I love working with actors. It's, I spent years in front of the camera, and it's my comfort zone for sure. But I'll be happy if things go well for me. Probably won't see me in front of the camera. I don't miss it yet. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, Megan is literally it's so clear to me that she was an actor, and like that was, honestly, a lot of the cast talked about that so much, probably behind your back, but it was all love. And yeah, it was just like very clear you were in our shoes and like knew how it felt to do certain things, and like it was the most comfortable environment I could possibly have ever imagined. I feel like so much of how like lively it all felt was like because it was just like really safe and comfy, and we all were like properly encouraged to be ourselves, and like we felt trust. So that's kind of how you make it work. It's like, yeah, you killed that.
Yeah, I imagine that the setting and everything, it probably felt a little bit like summer camp, shooting the movie. I wonder, what was the prep process like? Was there a lot of rehearsal? Was it a lot of just conversations?
I mean, for prep, I did like, for actual prep, like tractor driving lessons and boating lessons. I have a boat, like a little boat like Elliot, but I also did not have my boating license. So I did have to get one of those. It was a pain in the ass, but, and then for
Didn't
like...
you have to try twice? Didn't you?
Okay, why are we talking about that? No, I definitely did it first try, thank you. But yeah, I did have to try it twice. But for actual prep, we like talked through everything, which I loved. Like we would literally go sit at the dock and like talk through each scene. And yeah, literally, yeah, that's kind of all the prep that we did. And then like meeting Aubrey, I think we didn't like obsess over us being the same person too much, and we kind of just like let it be. Our natural vibe with each other was what it was. And so yeah, I feel like our prep was pretty just like let it be what it is.
Yeah, if you can believe it, this is Maisy's first movie ever also, which is mind-blowing to me. So a lot of the prep for me was also, we just talked through, like, there was a lot of unknowns with this movie, with the location and filming on boats and water and, crazy elements and stuff. So it was also just like, this is what we might happen, and this is also how it might go down, and just talking through, the problems that might arise technically as well. So she was in the right headspace to kind of, and so we all just were on the same page. But every actor needs something different, but we just talked a lot in the boathouse. It was, and then took breaks to jet ski. It's pretty great.
Yeah, the boating, I think one of the notes I wrote down when I was watching it was like, wow, does their own stunts. Like, this is amazing. The boating is amazing.
She can rip.
I loved the boat. I loved driving the boat. It was so fun. The only one that was like actually a bit scary, because there was like literal precious cargo in my boat, was when when I hit the docks, because that was real and really scary. There was once I like really did hit too hard and I had a talking to, but other than that, it was pretty smooth.
I want to talk about the sex in the movie, or the hooking up, or, what is sex? Anyway, I want to talk about the intimate scenes in the movie, because I was really impressed with how much you avoided these kind of like tropes that we see again and again of like sex with teenagers getting into like, oh, it's clumsy, or it's awkward, or it's traumatic, and like all of those are valid storylines. But also, I really appreciated seeing this young woman who was like, I know what I'm doing, and having a good time. Like, I was really, truly impressed by that, and I wondered how you thought about that when you thought about that being part of her character.
I think I just tried to keep it, as natural and tasteful as possible, and also, like more timeless, like in general, with the feel of the love stuff and the intimate stuff as well. And we didn't think we didn't we try not to overthink those things and just try to keep it really natural and comfortable. And Yeah, I'm glad it came across that way. That was definitely the intention for sure.
Yeah, how did you feel, Maisy, going into those scenes, or was that something that you noticed about the character right away, or how did you feel about it?
I don't know if that was something I noticed about the character right away. I mean, I had never done any scenes like that, but I wasn't really, I had like no like discomfort around it at all. I think like with Megan and like K2 or DP, like it was all just like so safe and comfy and felt very right. And cast wise was like so incredible and amazing.
We had like an intimacy coordinator, as you do now, and it's like always those scenes are always a little bit like, you know.
I mean, they're not like as good as they look. Like it's like always a bit awkward.
Like choreography.
Yeah, it really is. It's like proper choreography. But yeah, I do feel that way. I like love that was the direction that it went with Elliot. It is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I was wondering about was kind of when you were writing it, how deep you went into. Because, I mean, you could have a whole series of, like, them meeting and hanging out and, like, what's going on in older Elliot's life. And, like, I thought you did such a good job of, like, keeping it a succinct story, despite the fact that it was probably tempting to go down all these other roads. So what was kind of your guiding light on keeping it focused on her? And what is going on in older Elliot's life? I'm curious.
I know there could be like the sequel. She meets older. Yeah, it was that was very tricky, honestly. Every step of from writing it to making it to the edit, especially, you know, how many doors do you open? Because I didn't want to make like this butterfly effect. And I felt like if people left asking questions about that, then we'd fucked up, you know, because it's like that's not the point of the movie, that's not the heart of it. So sorry for swearing. And so yeah, once we had it locked in the edit, we actually had more fun with a lot of the ADR phone call stuff, a little like the siren going off and her yelling basement because we felt like at that point we could have a little bit more fun and play with it without it becoming too like, wait a second, you know, what's going on. But it was definitely something that we had to be very conscious about every step of the way. But it was a buy-in, and if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. We reference 13 going on 30 a lot. You know, she goes in the closet and dust falls on her head and she's 30, but it obviously doesn't make sense. But you love the character, you love the movie, and it's a great movie. I love that movie. I don't care, you know. I don't care about the magic.
I agree. It's a wonderful movie.
It's like Mrs. Doubtfire. You know, it's like insane, but you
Mrs.
don't care
Doubtfire
because you love it.
Unbelievably good.
It's great. It's a buy-in.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
It's iconic.
Let's talk about Justin Bieber. I really loved the Justin Bieber shroom fantasy so much, and I wondered what would be either of your pop star fantasy.
It was mine.
That was
why
it.
it's there. It was mine.
Yours was okay. Tell us about.
I mean, well, it was it was like originally a different song, like a different thing, a whole different sequence in the script. And then what happened with the original? Like we couldn't.
Yeah, it was like a Disney movie, so of course they were like, you can't use this.
Like while you're tripping on shrooms.
No.
Yeah, so Megan was like, what is the performance, like the iconic performance that, you know, people in your generation would like, it would immediately hit, and I knew immediately. Yeah, I didn't even have to think. It was a gut response. That One Less Lonely Girl was like so significant to me, and I have like vivid memories of like sleepovers and how angry it would make us watching any of the girls go up on the stage. But it was Megan's like full idea to have me be Bieber, and yeah, it changed me forever.
She was one person before and one person after we shot that. Well, and also Maisy's an amazing singer, and you know Maddie and Chris who play Ruthie and Ro are incredible. The professional dancers. It was like, this is just too good to pass up.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I really appreciated that we got to see the reality of them in the woods when it was happening. That was a nice touch. Yeah, I mean, It's amazing to think about writing for a voice that is younger than your own and trying to put in references and all of that. I mean, can you talk a little bit about how you thought about that or changed it as the movie progressed?
Yeah, I mean, I think both the movies I made were about young people, but I don't really think about it that way when I start writing about it, and maybe that helps. I'm just, especially with the fallout, it was like writing a story about a Gen Z coming of age and being scared to go to school every day that you might get shot, unfortunately, go hand in hand as part of the conversation. So it just, and same with this movie, in a weird, I very much relate, obviously, more to the older ass, and Aubrey's, I'm her age, close to her age. And so for me, but I was just writing this story of, it's coming of age can be at any age, I feel like, and I try not to think like, oh, I'm writing for an 18-year-old, how would they say it? But I do, gut check everything at every step of the way with actual younger people, and through the writing process, I try to get I'm like, who has a niece or nephew who's like in college and wants to read the script and tell me if it sucks, and so I try to do that every step, and Maisy's still my litmus test for all things now in projects I'm writing.
Yeah, but you don't. That is why I love your dialogue and your writing so much, is because it doesn't feel like it. I could be reading dialogue for not a young person as well. You don't only write with all slang, and it's not like. I loved the dynamic between Elliot and her mom, because I feel like when I watch things for young people, it's they always hate their mom. The teenager always hates their mom, and stuff like that, where I feel like you don't fall into the traps really, which is really satisfying for me. And
I think before we go, I was curious about how you thought about other coming of age stories that you enjoyed that maybe were references for you, or that you were trying to do something different than. I feel like there are a lot of movies that are written about this time, and it's sort of always focused on changing friendships or the pressure of becoming an adult and how scary that is, or so the writer is presuming. But I really enjoyed that you had this interaction with a younger person, and it felt like it was also focused on what she had to teach her older self.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm writing, unfortunately, I'm forgetting that one day people are going to see the movie. So I don't know. It's a little bit of, it's therapy for me, and I guess I truthfully, when I open that computer, I don't know where it's going to end up, but there's a little part of me in each character. And there was a lot of visual references for sure. I wanted to make something that felt really nostalgic, and My Girl and Now and Then, movies like that came up a lot in conversation, but there wasn't really one specific movie that I was referencing through. I just wanted to hopefully make something that felt timeless.
Yeah, I think you really succeeded, and it was so nice to see that setting featured so much. I mean, I feel like it's such a love letter to that area, which I think is your home. Yeah, town?
Close to, yeah. But I'm like, can I get a free cottage rental up there for basically making a 2-hour commercial for your Muskoka?
A lifetime supply of cranberries.
I know, right? I know. It's a beautiful place. Check it out if you're ever in Toronto. It's not far. Yeah, it was amazing to actually film there. It's where I spent every summer growing up. So.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I would love that. I hope to go too. I want to say thank you so much for joining us and talking to us. I wish we could talk longer, but how about another round of applause for Megan and Maisy?